Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of College Sucks. I'm your host, Davis Samantha Davidson, a student affairs professional who has been in college most of her life. All right, so this week I want to talk to you about something that I keep talking about or I keep saying to students. Now, some time ago, a student came to me and he was expressing his desire to be an A student. And this is a student who I think definitely has the potential to be an A student. There's nothing wrong with his learning. He doesn't have any major challenges. He can do his work. But there's some things that, separates him from his desires. And I had to say to him that it's really good that you want to be an A student. I'm all for it. But you have to understand that there is a distinct difference between a student that's an A student, a B student, and a C student. Unless you're a small part of the population that is especially gifted, if you want to fall in any of those categories, it's really based on what you do. We don't get what we want, we get who we are. So stay tuned to this week's episode of College Sucks, the difference between an A student and a C student. All right, let's jump into it. There really are small differences of what separates an A student from a B student, and sometimes what separates A, B from C. Let's be clear about that. Sometimes it's just slight adjustments that you need to make and things that you would normally take for granted that you need to pay greater attention to. So here's the deal. The difference between an A student and a C student most times boils down to who is more consistent. A students are consistent. They show up for class on time, they turn in their work on time, and they ask for help when they need it. It's not about being perfect. It's about putting that consistent, steady effort. A students are not embarrassed that they don't understand a concept and that they may need additional help. They are willing to do what they need to do to get to that grade. Now, what would a C student do given the same situation? They have the same potential as the A student, but they often are inconsistent. They skip classes, they wait until the last minute to do assignments, and they don't prioritize learning the material. They always put it off for next week or closer to the exam or when I have work due. They don't pay attention to really learning what is happening in the course, which will give them a better grasp and allow them to be able to answer the questions better or perform better in essays. So it's not that C students don't care, but maybe because they've not had the experience of being consistent from early on in their lives, they never had the role models, or maybe they used to cruise through easier material and now they're confronted with harder material and they just don't know how to manage it. So you don't fail because of you not wanting something hard enough and you're not trying. A lot of times, as the book Atomic Habits by James Clear says, and I encourage every student to read it, you fail at the level of your systems. A C student may not have the right systems in place to succeed, and that really is the difference. Or sometimes your circumstances determine how you're going to succeed. So you may have a lot going on more than an A student. You might be dealing with a difficult relationship, a difficult home situation. You might be going through it. You might be battling health challenges. But I think recognizing some of the limitations that you have and trying to play to your strengths could really help you to close the gap between you and somebody who is performing a little bit better. Now, I want to say that being an A student is not about being a genius, although in life there are people who are just genetically, biologically, circumstantially going to be a little bit more advantaged than you, but it does not mean that you cannot rise. There's so many stories and examples of persons who have risen above their circumstances with desire being the foundation of that. So if you want to be an A student, you have already conquered the first step, which is you have identified that you want to do it. Some students are embarrassed to say that they have this goal because they feel if they say it to somebody and they don't achieve it, that somehow that person is going to be laughing at them. It's, the idea of people laughing at you is something you grow out of the older you get, because either you realize nobody's laughing at you, or that nobody really cares, they have their own stuff going on, or that you don't care. So the idea that you want to be an A student is something that you need to make known to your close circle so that they can support you, and really make it known to yourself, every part of your body, every fiber of your being, that this is the goal. So the desire is the first step. But then the action, putting the systems in place, is the next thing that you have to do. It's not about being a genius. It's about building habits that set you up for success, even when things get difficult, right? So you have to keep it in mind that an A student does not give up. A bad grade doesn't send them into a tailspin. Or what are you young people saying? They don't crash out. I don't know where. Anyway, let me not judge. You don't crash out then, right? You are able to build on that because you know what the ultimate aim is. So I've just spoken to you about systems and habits, and that's the next thing that separates an A from a C. A students have better habits. So here are some of the habits that separate an A student from a C student. So the first one is showing up. A students, they show up to class even if they're tired or they don't feel like it, because attendance matters. I remember once I was in a exercise group, and one morning when I went to my exercise class because I paid for it, one of the members from the group, she came late, and I remember a med student was also in our group, and she said something that both of us found a little bit funny. Now, granted, both of us have different habits that we've been working on. I've been working on having better habits later on in life. But she said she didn't come earlier on time because at first she didn't feel like it. And the med student was like, "Oh, you use your feelings." And I was thinking to myself, I could never use my feelings because I don't like exercise, and I would never come if I used my feelings. And just being mindful of that is a difference. It really was, because we were becoming more successful than she was because we were showing up whether we felt like it, yes or no. I was showing up because I don't pay my money already, and you're not getting my money for free. So I showed up whether or not I felt like it. And trust me, most days I did not. And that really is the difference between an A student and a C student. They show up. C students, they skip when they feel overwhelmed or think they can catch up later. But let's be real, there is no catching up. The semester is 13 weeks, and I have seen the ways in which young people, college students, are able to share information, and sometimes it's not the most accurate. Why would you put the responsibility of getting the information in the hands of somebody else if you don't have to? Now, it's different if you're sick or something is going on and you genuinely can't make it. But just because you woke up in the morning and you slept on the wrong side of the bed, or you don't feel like, you've just decided, hey, I'm going to skip today. No, an A student is not going to do that. They're not going to act off their feelings. They're just going to show up, because whether it be by osmosis, by simply being in the space, there is value in it. So A students definitely show up, and C students tend to slip up and just shrug things off and not turn up for classes when they should. Time management is the next area that there is a difference, okay? A students use tools. They use planners, they use calendars, they write dates down, they try to stay organized. And this is coming from me. If you've been in my office, you know I'm not the most organized person, but I try to be. And I find that when I organize things flow better. So I'm telling you something I wish I had gotten a handle on when I was in university, that staying organized is really a small thing that you can do in your spare time when you're just watching a movie, just putting all your things together, and it makes a huge difference. They plan out their week, and a student will do that. They know when all their classes are. I find that sometimes up to 3 weeks in the semester, I'm saying to a student, "Oh, can you meet me at 8:30 on a Wednesday?" And they have to be checking their timetable to see if they've had a class. Now, had they put their timetable up above their bed or somewhere where they look at it every day, by week 2, they would have known. And if you're going to the classes, your body it stays in rhythm for where it's supposed to be. You would know that you have a class at that time. So staying organized, knowing your schedule is very important. See, students, they tend to not plan ahead. They will miss deadlines because they don't know them. They're not organized. They haven't put in the back of their mind that this week I have 3 things outstanding and I need to pay attention to them. So a lot of times assignments sneak up on them, catch them off guard. They're not prepared. And so they have to stay up all night, right? No sleep, team, no sleep, getting their work done when they could have been taking their time every other day, writing down something, paying attention to the schedule, doing things at a pace that is comfortable for them. They have missed out on that because they have managed their time properly and they haven't set up a schedule. The next difference is asking for help. And this is something that continues to blow my mind. There is a distinct difference from when I was in university and my clients now who I deal with daily when they're in university. You have access to so much. I used to have to go, well, I'm not going to tell that story because that's going to age me. But before, people were not able to use as many online resources as you have access to. You do not have to leave the comforts of your bed to check out a library book. I used to have to do that. Had to walk to the library to take them out and to return them. Now you can digitally do that. That is, as a matter of fact, audiobooks were not so big of a deal. Let me say it like that. Let me not say they weren't around. They must have been. I'm not that old. But they weren't so much of a thing. Or we never had AI, which could literally read your notes to you in a voice that you would like. None of that was available. You have all the resources in the world now. And they are right in front of you without you even having to ask them too hard. Yet you refuse to genuinely ask for help. You don't ask for help from your classmates who are the A students that you want to be. Trust me, if there are 3 of them, all 3 are not going to be selfish. There is going to be one who is mature enough and who understands that there is not just one A floating around and everybody has to grab it, who is willing to share. And there's something about us as human beings. We need community. And some of us have this savior complex. We want to help the poor C student. And it doesn't matter what the motivation is. If you are getting the help that you need from someone, you should accept it as long as it is bringing you no harm. I ask students for help when I'm working on projects that are new to me, that require technology that I'm not yet familiar with. I ask complete strangers for directions if I'm going somewhere. I will call my trusted friends and ask their opinion on something, even if I think I know the answer already. Asking for help is a way to succeed, and you need to get into the habit of it. Okay, this whole idea that you're an island and you stand alone and you can manage has only given you C's. So if you want to step up to the A category, if you want to get to the top of the podium, you best ask for help. A students do not sit by themselves in the struggle trying to figure out something that somebody has already figured out. This degree is not in its first year. Somebody else has done it. And you're not asking them to give you your work. You're asking them to help you to see things in a way that you are not able to see it on your own. A students, they're not afraid to ask questions in class. They go and find a lecturer. They get tutoring if needs be. They submit essays on time or drafts of it so that they can get feedback. They are not afraid of doing those things. They don't see it as weakness. They know that they are building up themselves for success and they are willing to do it. C students are somehow, very much on the embarrassed and shame meter. Okay, like, oh, this is so embarrassing. I could not imagine asking somebody, okay, you go somewhere you've never been before. needing to find something that you've never seen before. And don't ask for directions. Don't ask. Tell me, how are you going to get there? You have to ask. You have to get into the habit of asking. See, students tend to feel embarrassed to seek help and feel like they need to figure out their work on their own when nobody else in reality is doing that. No one is figuring out every single thing on their own. Consultation and collaboration is important for success. ACE students prioritize the long game. All right. ACE students are not just focused on grades, they're focused on learning. They want to understand the material because they know it will help them later. Now, the idea that everything that you learn in college is going to be applicable to when you go into your professional life and into your field of practice is not necessarily true, because a college education is well rounded. You are going to be taking electives and courses that you never use. I did a number of philosophy courses, and other than being able to look at life in a particular way, for my own self, I do not use those things daily. As a matter of fact, I do not necessarily use my degree practically in every single way. I mean, I do teach some of the things I learned, but it's not that what you learn in college to the T is going to be something that you're going to use. And the difference between an A student and a C student is that a C student will be very quick to point that out. Oh, what am I going to do with this? When will I ever need to solve for X? And it is true. Sometimes you feel that way. But the principle of solving for X is just problem solving. An A student knows that. They don't get caught up on the fact that, hey, I may never use this, but I had to learn it. And I was miserable learning it. They just say, they're giving us this subject. There must be some value in it, and I'm going to learn it to the best of my ability and get a good grade. And that really is the difference. They try to learn. They really want to know the material. C students just tend to focus solely and primarily on passing the exam, getting through the semester, submitting the work, no matter what quality it is. And you have to depart from that. Now, let's be clear. When I speak about the difference between an A student and a C student, grades do matter. So, of course, you should be practicing how to take exams. That is key. But learning as much as you can, trying to find joy in the learning, trying to apply some of the things that you are learning to your everyday life can make it a more wholesome experience for you and might actually lead to you being more successful. So that's the difference. The A student is looking at the semester to the end, not in small cuts and moments. Like, I need to do this work now so that by the time I'm confronted with the assignments, with the exams, I truly understand the content and I am able to do what I need to do to get the grade that I desire. Now, I want to be careful and make sure that in all the passion I am displaying, that at no point it sounds as if I'm beating up on you if your grade is a C and has always been a C, depending on what year you've been in. Because being a C student doesn't mean that you're destined to fail. In fact, some C students really develop fantastic skills like problem solving, creativity. They're the fun people. You know, they're compassionate and kind and funny, and people love to be around them. They can adjust to difficult situations. C students tend to be pretty chill. But that being said, if you are coasting by as a C student, you need to ask yourself 3 key questions, all right? Are you okay with where you're at? Is there something you want to improve? And what's holding you back from getting to the level that you want to be? Now, after you have asked yourself these questions and come up with the answers that work for you, then you can decide if you want to level up. And if you do, I have some tips for you. So let's go. Let's get practical. Here are 5 tips to take you from a C student to an A student. So the first thing is to start small. Don't try to change everything at once. Try to see what are those tiny things that you can do that can improve your situation. So it could be something as simple as going to class on time all of the next week. Set that as your goal. your first goal, trying to get to class on time. And if that's too much, let's say, all right, if I have 5 classes for the week, I'm going to try to get to 4 of them on time. Just that small change will give you such a confidence boost that you are able to do something that you have not, for one reason or the other, been doing. Will really, really make you feel so much better and start to set you up. So start small. And it could even be like reading over my notes after class when I have a spare second. Just those small steps can really make a huge difference. The next thing is to start to develop a plan. You need to plan ahead. You need to be on schedule. A college student without a schedule, what are you even doing? You need one. You can't just be relying on people to remind you when your work is due. You are a grown up and you need to take some responsibility. So you need to plan ahead. The very phone that you are on has many free apps that are useful, including Google Calendar. There are so many things that you can put in that. Reminders, things to alarm, to things that pop up on your screen to let you know that your work is due in a particular time and now you need to start working on it. So that's something that you need to look into. The next thing is that you need to build a support system. You need to find people who can help you stay on track, whether it's a study group, a friend, or someone who motivates you. It can even be one of your lecturers. They love to mentor students. So it's good if you share what you want, what your goals are, and because they've been students too, by the way. I think sometimes students forget that. We've all been to college. And so even though it's been a different time, a different era, our values may have been different and how we view things, we know what you need to do to get to where you need to get to. And sometimes I think you get lost in that right in front of you, the person teaching you can also be a part of your support system that helps you to get the grades that you desire. The next thing I want to point out is that you need to focus on what you want to achieve in terms of progress and not in terms of perfection. Perfectionism is a curse. Okay, it is something that I am struggling with myself. You don't want to do mediocre, but sometimes the pursuit of this perfection just leads to problems. You need to think about slow and steady progress. So like I said, starting small, just getting to class on time, going to all of your classes, having your paper ready one night before, printing it the evening before it needs to be handed in. Those are small things to someone, but it's a huge thing for you because you are now changing your habits and doing things differently to get to where you need to get to. And you need to really celebrate the small wins, the small things. You need to be happy about something like that, because those small things are going to pile into big things that get you to where you need to get to. And then my favorite thing I'm always going to tell you is that you need to prioritize taking care of yourself. Once you have a plan, once you know what you are doing, you are better able to get the sleep that you need. You're better able to get the rest that you need. You're better able to do the things that you need to do to get you to where you need to get to, because you are not cramming the night before the exam. You are using your weekends to leisurely do your work. When you're relaxed, when you don't have to think about waking up early the next day. That can really help you to take care of yourself better. Once you have a plan and a schedule, it really frees up time for you to do some of the things that you enjoy. Put watching that movie in your schedule. It's something that you like and that will take your mind off how hard college is. There is nothing wrong with that. I still believe you can be a college student and get 8 hours of sleep once you plan your time out and you're not idling it during the days, just having small talk and sitting down for 2 hours having conversations. That's not the time for it. If you know that sleep makes you feel better, it needs to be a priority. It needs to be on your list, and you need to schedule yourself in such a way that you're getting the sleep that you need. All right. So what have I said to you that is useful? What should you take away from this? Well, here it is. The difference between an A student and a C student isn't about being smarter. It's about showing up, staying consistent, and finding what works for you. But don't forget, grades don't define define you. College is about learning, growing, and figuring out what you want to do with your life. If you're struggling, it's not the end of the world. You can always level up, you can always change. You always can. You just have to be willing to do it. So, this week episode is not that long because I have had a nightmare of a week. And even recording this has been very much of a struggle. Listen, we're all going through it. This January 2025 has been pretty interesting. But let's know that, things don't stay hard all the time. Um, Things change and you can always improve, and don't be too hard on yourself. So, thank you for listening to this episode. And please check out my social media pages. I'm going to be very active over there now, I promise. And please share this. If you found even one thing useful, share it with your friends, share it with your classmates. Just, persons who would benefit from this. I would really appreciate it if you would do me a solid and just share. And also like and subscribe. So, until next time. No, college sucks, but it really doesn't have to. And I'm here to help you get through it. Bye.